Coming up, a new CBD cinema operator due to be revealed in July. Council engages Queensland Treasury Corporation as an independent advisor. COVID changes retail incentives to attract tenants. And will Council sell off CBD properties in the near future, as originally flagged when under administration? It's Thursday, May 6, 2021, and I'm Alan Roebuck. Welcome to Ipswich Today, which acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land on which it is produced and pays respects to elders past, present and emerging. This podcast is supported by Kinetics, people-powered web hosting trusted by Australian businesses since 1999. The April meeting of Ipswich City Council heard a detailed update on when a cinema operator will be announced for the Nicholas Street precinct. The meeting was also told that the impact of COVID has changed the way incentives are given on leasing retail space. Ipswich Central Redevelopment Committee Chairperson Councillor Marnie Doyle began by responding to community concerns over delays in making these significant announcements.
I know our residents are really excited by what's happening down in the Nicholas Street precinct with regard to the development, and everyone is absolutely chomping at the bit to understand what's next and what leasing partners we've managed to secure down there. We're not in a position to reveal those details as yet. They're subject to confidentiality provisions.
Council's Acting Head of Infrastructure and Environment, Sean Madigan, also began by talking about the delay in making the cinema operator announcement.
We might address the cinema EOI firstly. So earlier this year, Council ran an expression of interest process for operators to come in and run our cinema that we're proposing in the former building known as Venue. As a result of that process, there were numerous parties who expressed an interest in coming to either lease the Venue building and operate a cinema or a management agreement with Council. We were quite buoyed by the response of that, so there are significant players in the cinema operator market who have expressed an interest. Following that process, we have then conducted some tours of the facility with those parties who expressed an interest. And then now the next stage is to go out to a competitive tender process with those parties who expressed an interest in it to finalise an agreement. In terms of time frame, we're proposing that we will be presenting a report to Council confirming and a recommendation to award a contract to a supplier in July of this year. It is significant in terms of our precinct to get a cinema operator in terms of activation. All of the work that we have done thus far shows us the importance of that. So we are keen to progress this. The fact that multiple parties have expressed an interest in the cinema operator tells us that the market will in fact support a cinema and the community will support a cinema in that location. And we look forward to an announcement in July.
Mr Madigan added it was a complex process and Council had engaged consultants and industry experts to assist.
We have engaged KPMG to provide some assistance there in terms of financial modelling and assessments of the criteria, as well as relevant industry experts such as Knight Frank to look at the commerciality of any agreement that is proposed. We further also have an independent probity advisor appointed to that to ensure that the proper process is followed and that it is transparent and in keeping with the will of the Council.
Queensland Treasury Corporation, also known as QTC, has also been engaged by Council.
We are at a point in the retail development whereby all of the hard work over the last 12 to 18 months in terms of securing tenants and the like is coming to fruition. So we currently have, in terms of terms, 15 heads of agreements with significant tenants across the precinct. And now comes the time where Council looks at those deals, looks at the commerciality of them, and looks at what funds Council will need to actually put into those precincts and the retail assets in order to get the best tenants in there and produce the best activation outcome for the people of Ipswich in our CBD precinct. What that means then is, now that we have an understanding of the terms that are being sought by the industry, a lot of them are seeking what we refer to as a capital incentive. So that is an incentive of a cash payment, if you will, from council to the tenant to assist them in the fit out of their tenancy, which then they would occupy and lease out. Before COVID, the circumstance of that was a very different market to what we are in now. So at that time, pre-COVID, the general real estate industry in terms of retail was looking at smaller capital incentives, but with rental abatements over a prolonged period. That has now shifted to capital incentives. So what we are doing at the moment is formulating a full cost to complete for the project, and then following the advice and action of the Mayor and Deputy Mayor, we've engaged Queensland Treasury Corporation to come in as an independent advisor to the Council to review the commerciality of the terms that we're doing, looking at our investment model, and then actually looking at what is our development strategy. So as many, all of the Council would be aware, and members of the public, the strategy adopted under the administrator was to develop the assets, invest the money in them, probably maintain and operate them for a period of 2 years, and then look at divesting those or selling those on the open market to prospective owners. What COVID has done is flipped the retail market on its head in terms of that. So what we are doing with QTC is looking at that model and actually saying what is the best model in terms of ownership, divestment or owning and operating for council to achieve the greatest return on investment to ratepayers. So the general advice at present is, if we were to develop them, spend the money that's required in terms of capital fit out and getting them up and running, and then sell them, may not in fact be the best outcome for the people of Ipswich. There are two significant drivers for the precinct that were identified previously. One is around the activation, of a revitalised city heart. The second one is a return on investment. We're all aware of the long and protracted history of the CBD redevelopment. So what we have done is engaged QTC to actually have a look at it and provide us with a model and, if you will, an investment and operating strategy that will ensure the optimal return on investment for the ratepayers' money that's being put into this precinct. QTC, whilst working very closely with us, are also performing an independent task as well. So they report back to the Mayor and councillors in relation to that. As the primary lender of council and very concerned with our financial situation, given the fact that they are the lender to local governments, they have an interest in ensuring that we achieve the best outcomes we possibly can for every dollar that we invest into that precinct. So over the next few months, you can expect to see considerable announcements in relation to the leasing strategy, as well as some reports coming through to council with perhaps amended investment and operating strategies for the precinct off the back of the shift that has occurred over the last couple of years as a result of COVID, and informed by the work that QTC are doing.
You've been listening to an update on the Ipswich CBD as part of the Ipswich Central Redevelopment Committee report presented to the April 29 meeting of Ipswich City Council. A reminder to look for handy links in the show notes to council meetings and agendas and council's YouTube channel. Ipswich Today is supported by Kinetics, people-powered web hosting trusted by Australian businesses since 1999. This podcast is also listener-supported. Please make a once-only gift or regular donation to help keep it online. Just go to ipswichtoday.com.au and click the donate button at the bottom of the page. You can follow this podcast on your favourite app, including iHeartRadio, or play Ipswich Today from your smart speaker. Music is supplied by Purple Planet Music. This is Alan Roebuck. Thanks for listening.